Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is my Q&A take 3. First 2 videos were kind of a nightmare. First one was corrupted, and second one, the sound was not great. So here's hoping this one works out better. On another note, I figured out how to turn on the lights. I have a ceiling fan, and you control the fan and the lights and all of that. And my parents had the settings so that the fan was on, but the light was off. And it is now nighttime, so I need the light on. And I figured out how to do that because my phone, well, now I can tell that the lights are on because the phone told me that my face was showing in the camera, which means that the lights are on. So, yeah, a blindness win for me. I don't know why I am so excited that I was able to turn on the lights, but I am. So, yeah. That kind of goes into what a lot of people ask me, which is, how much vision do I have? I have none. I have no light perception. That is why. The only way I was able to figure out the light was on was because my phone's voice told me that my face was visible in the camera. That would only work at nighttime, you know, when it's dark and I need the actual light. Because during the day, there's sunlight to tell me that. Anyway, if that made any sense, cool. If it didn't, just know I'm happy. Anyway, so yeah, I have no light perception. I can't see colors, which kind of goes into another question that somebody asked me, which was, how do I imagine colors? I do not imagine colors. Colors are just kind of something that I associate with things. So, well, or in certain cases, I learned some of my colors through Barney, you know, Purple Dinosaur. I was obsessed with that show as a kid, and there was a song that talked about different names of colors. Oh, I like red. It's the color of an apple. Yeah, okay. I'm going to stop singing now. That is probably making you relive your worst nightmares. Most people hate Barney. But yeah, that is how I learned a lot of my colors. By hearing that song and knowing what color things are. Although actually I used to pretend that I could tell what color was what by feeling the tips of the crayons. The pointiest tips were yellow. Don't ask me why I decided that. The pointiest tips were yellow, but they were. Judge me. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, I'm a total. That's what we visually impaired people call being totally blind. We just call ourselves totals. And the ones who have some vision are the partials. Anyway, I also was born with osteoporosis, which is fun because blind people bump into things and trip. And, you know, I mean, we try not to, but, you know. For me, it just means it's more dangerous. Because, it's, yeah, I've broken a few bones over the years. Not as many as I probably would have without overprotective parents, though. I've broken an ankle, and I've broken each arm at different times. And I have had more sprained ankles than you can count. But, yeah, all things considered, I'd say I'm pretty lucky. So, yeah. Anyway, now on to, oh, right, education. So, I never really talked about this, but I did go to college. I started at Los Angeles Community College and transferred to Cal State LA, where I got a BA in liberal studies. I had meant to teach Braille, and I got a minor in psychology, and I graduated in 2019, and I was going to go back to get my teaching credential to teach other kids with visual impairments. I was considering teaching Braille, but as time passed, the budget cuts just got worse, and Braille instruction got reduced, and I just didn't want to teach in a system I wasn't too happy with anymore. So I may go back and teach English. Although I have to admit, my dream job is working at a library and just recommending books. But, yeah. Anyway. I'm kind of job hunting now, and I must admit that, one of the things, my daydreams about having a channel was to get paid and just be able to talk about books and get some money on the side for it. I don't have enough subscribers for that, and don't get me wrong, I'm doing this with or without pay. If I get paid eventually, awesome. But, if I don't, that's also okay. I love, talking about books and talking to you guys about books, and, yeah, I'll be here until I get sick of it, which isn't anytime soon, thankfully. So, yeah, now on to the actual questions. Now I've sort of given you a little bit of a basic bio about me with questions you did not ask to be answered. First, before I start, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who submitted questions. I will I will tag all the people that I remember who asked them in the video, like all the book channels. And with that, let's just start. What state do you live in? I live in Los Angeles, California, although I was born in Tijuana, which is a frontier town in Mexico. Although, it's in the States, essentially. It's like you cross the border from San Isidro, that's near San Diego, and into Tijuana. So, I don't know quite how that works. It's considered Baja California. Whatever. But, yeah. We came to the U.S. when I was 2, so that I could get an education, because there wasn't very good education for blind people in Mexico. How many siblings do you have? I have 3 sisters, 2 brothers. I'm the youngest. They're all older than me. All of my sisters had kids when I was little, so I've been an aunt since I was 3. Both of my brothers started having kids when I was older, so I feel more of an aunt to them than I do to my sister's kids, just because my sister's kids are closer to my own age. Like I said, the oldest one was born when I was 3 years old. So being called Tia was weird. And now a couple of those kids have kids too. So I have 2 great nieces and a great nephew. And I refuse to be called great aunt. I'm not even 35 years old. I will not be a great aunt. It's bad enough that I have the height of a little old lady. I'm not even 5 feet tall. And that I walk with a cane, even though it's not the, old people kind of cane. But, being called great aunt is terrifying. I'm not even 35. I cannot be called great aunt. I will be aunt. We'll pretend the great part doesn't exist. But yeah. Currently we're in the thick of it with my brother's twin girls, Daisy and Alice, which I have mentioned on different videos just in passing. And I did post one video of me with them in a community post if you want to take a look. Yeah. I was going to post the video where Daisy managed to spray Dad in the face with water, but I don't think he'd appreciate that in public. I might do it anyway, though. What is your favorite and least favorite season? My favorite season is winter. I like to be cold. Okay, I don't like to be cold, necessarily, but I'd rather be cold than hot. Because when you're cold, you can wrap up in as many blankets as you want. You can pile on the sweaters. But when it's hot, there's only so much you can take off, right? I like to swim, but other than that, I have no use for summer. I'd rather be cold. So, yeah. Also, the other times of year affect allergies, which is real fun. Spring and fall. The leaves are falling in the fall, and in spring, everything is growing and blooming and all the pollen and all of that. And then summer is delightful because we have fire season here in California. And also, fireworks. They start around Memorial Day and they go on till about Labor Day. And then, just when you think you have a break, we hit Christmas. And then they come back for Christmas and then New Year's. So, yeah. Also, there are lunatics around here who are apparently throwing fireworks at passing cars, which is real nice. That's sarcasm, in case you didn't notice. So, yeah. Right now, my asthma is real fun. Did I mention I have asthma? Anyway. What's your favorite food and dessert? Honestly, my favorite dessert is anything chocolate. My go-to Starbucks drink, you didn't ask, but I'll tell you anyway, is a mocha frappuccino with almond milk and whipped cream. I'm lactose intolerant, so I can no longer have regular milk. So I've learned to love it with almond milk. My favorite dessert, like I said, is anything chocolate. Honestly, there are very few desserts I like that do not have chocolate. I do like apple pie, actually. Actually, I like hot apple pie. I love the way the crust tastes when it's hot. And, like the pie filling. I love hot cherry pie, too. That's really good. And I love to heat up chocolate chip cookies. I put them in the microwave, and they taste like they're freshly baked. One time, I almost burned the place down trying to heat up a chocolate chip cookie. You can find that story in Most Embarrassing Moments as a Blind Person, I think it is, that video. I'll link it in case you're interested in watching. But, yeah, I love a good hot chocolate chip cookie. And as for food, honestly, food isn't that interesting to me. What is this? My Apple Watch is dinging.
Activity. Move goal achieved. You passed your move goal.
Oh, goody. My Apple Watch says I have passed my move goal. Excellent. Anyway, back to this. So, yeah, food. I'm a pizza person. I like pizza. But I think some of my favorite foods are stuff my mom makes. She makes this pork with this, green, hot sauce. We call it pork with green chili. Chili is just what we call, spicy sauce. It's not, chili that you eat with cornbread. So, yeah, Mom will make this pork, and she'll do, this green hot sauce. And you can eat it with white rice or with beans. It's really good. And then she makes mole, which is another kind of spicy sauce. It's kind of reminds me of curry. And you can make that with chicken or, any meat you want, I guess. We usually have it with chicken. And then she makes tamales, too. Actually, with both of those fillings. At Christmas, which is, my favorite thing that she makes. And we only get once a year. Amanda, actually, book lover Amanda, asked me what my favorite comfort food is. And I can't really think of a comfort food, honestly. Because I do not use food for comfort. Honestly, when I am, stressed, the last thing I want is food. But, I guess to replace that question, I would, like I'd said, I like certain foods at certain times. So, certain foods make me think of certain times. Tamales are always at Christmas. Same way turkey's always at Thanksgiving. I like the predictability of certain foods, looking forward to certain foods. What are some of your favorite TV shows, current and back in the day? I actually did a whole video on this. It's called, basically my history with TV shows as a blind person or something. I'll find it and link it. But yeah, I literally talked about all the shows I watched as a kid and current day now. But just to kind of talk about them a little bit again. Current shows that I watch now are, honestly, I watch a lot of reality shows. I watch Sister Wives. I watch Teen Mom. Judge me, okay? I have been watching Teen Mom for 10 years. It is riveting, and probably bad because you're watching these exploited children. But yeah, I've been watching those families since they had their kids. And one of those kids two of those kids actually. We're literally watching them current day getting their learner's permits. It's crazy how long those kids have been on TV. I do watch other things besides reality shows, though. Oh yeah, like I mentioned Sister Wives, right? Cody's wives all left him except Robin, and I'm very happy about that. If you know, you know. I actually reviewed Sister Wives, the book, Becoming Sister Wives, on this channel last year. So, yeah. Cody's a polygamist, married 4 wives, and it was a show about their lives, and now they've all left him. And I'm glad, because he sucks. What else do I watch? Called the Midwife, Grey's Anatomy. I got into medical shows for some reason. Other ones that I've watched are over now. New Amsterdam, The Good Doctor. That one was about an autistic doctor, which was interesting. Actually, I haven't finished The Good Doctor. I've been meaning to, but I've been busy. I haven't finished watching the last season. Yeah. I'm about to start watching The Baxters, which is on Amazon Prime. It's based on the book series, the Baxter book series by Karen Kingsbury. I love watching any TV shows that are related to books that I've read or movies, you know. We Were the Lucky Ones by Georgia Hunter is a TV show on Hulu I want to watch too. So, yeah. As for back in the day, like I said, Barney was a favorite of mine as a kid. You know. I like Storytime. I don't know if you remember that show on PBS. And then Reading Rainbow. I loved Reading Rainbow. Any shows with books. Or my shows. Also just musical shows too. I loved Gullah Gullah Island on Nick Jr., Bear in the Big Blue House, Out of the Box. Out of the box. Out of the box. Anyway. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? Probably all over Europe. A lot of the books that I read are set in Europe. You know, like the UK. Or I guess that'd be United Kingdom. That'd be all of Europe. I don't know. I have no geography. So I'd go to England. I'd go to Ireland. I'd go to Scotland. Probably France. Maybe Germany, just because, you know. I wouldn't mind seeing the Anne Frank house someday. I also wouldn't mind going to Hawaii. And yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't mind visiting New York to visit Central Park. And Disney World, Florida. I've always wanted to go to Epcot. If you had a time machine, when would you visit? I would probably visit... I'd probably travel all different time periods. I want to meet Laura Ingalls and, you know, visit that time period. That would be interesting. I wouldn't mind meeting Anne Frank. Preferably before she goes into hiding. I don't know. It would just be interesting. I love any time travel historical fiction. But, you know, I don't know. I also think that I would like to visit, this sounds kind of conceited, but I'd like to visit myself as a baby, because I obviously never seen baby pictures of myself, so I'd want to, like, visit a time when I was a baby and just see what I was like, as weird as that sounds. If you could experience a moment for the first time again, which would you choose? The first time I ever swam across a swimming pool. I mean, I remember as a kid, when I went to camp, they had a blind people camp. It was called Camp Bloomfield. It actually burned down in 2019 during the Woolsey fires. But yeah, I remember when I was little and I went to camp, I always wanted to pass the swim test so I could swim in the deep end, but I was always too scared to take it. And so recently when I started going to the Y, I finally swam across the pool and it was glorious. Like, just that moment the first time. And get this, I got a round of applause for it. Because everybody was kind of watching. Like, it was wild. The whole pool was, like, watching with bated breath to see if I would make it across the pool. Although I have to admit, I didn't do it in front of anyone I knew, which kind of sucks. Marissa wasn't there. Liz wasn't there. Nobody was there that I knew. But, like, everybody was, like, waiting to see if I would, like, die or something halfway across. And when I got there, it was like the whole pool went nuts. I would love to relive that again. Swimming just feels like flying. Now on to my bookish questions. Where is your favorite place to read? I read everywhere. So, you know, in the car, at the kitchen table. Nobody eats at the kitchen table with me, so I always have an audiobook going because I eat by myself. Everybody eats in front of the TV. But I do like reading in bed. There's something relaxing about just lying there with an audiobook. And when I read Braille, I read at my desk where I'm sitting right now, filming this. Does your family like to read? Well, my mom did. She read to me when I was small. We read a lot of books. Now she's a nanny and is reading picture books to the kids that she nannies for, which she finds very upsetting because we read chapter books because she didn't like picture books very much. And now she's forced to read them because, you know, the toddlers that she takes care of don't have the attention span for Narnia. So she now has to read, or, you know, she used to complain about having to read Dr. Seuss. I think she's getting used to it, but, like, the repetition of the books that she has to read drives her bonkers. As for the rest of my family, the only time I've ever seen them riveted while reading a book was when 50 Shades of Grey was coming out. I will never forget, like, the way they were all reading those books. I think it was probably the last book that came out. They were like, I remember my sister and then I think it was like my sister-in-law were both at the house and they weren't interested in watching TV, which is not the norm. Whenever, like, family comes over, all they want to do is watch a movie together, and I usually ditch them and go read in my room. But that day, they weren't even paying attention to the movie we were supposedly watching. They were reading and telling me to shut up because they were in the middle of the book. I'm just like, wow. I never thought I'd see you guys engrossed in a book. But that is the only time in life when I've ever seen that happen. With my sister, anyway. My sister-in-law does like to read. She has probably a few different versions of Harry Potter, and we read similarly. But, you know, my blood family are not readers. Do you snack while you read? If so, what is your go-to snack? I guess I do snack while I read, but it's not necessarily something that I'm, like, thinking about doing, because I'm reading most of the time. I'm reading while I'm eating dinner, so sure, I guess I do. But I don't, like, actively decide, I'm going to sit and read a book and have a bowl of popcorn. I have an audiobook going throughout the day, so I'm reading and I happen to be snacking. So it's not like a activity that I set out to do. But, yeah. I don't know. I guess I just always eat when I read. But my go-to snack is probably hot Cheetos. I got addicted to them as a little kid when we used to have them at class parties. And it never faded. So, yeah. It's very bad for you. What is your favorite genre to read? Probably historical fiction, followed by women's fiction. I like stories about families, but not necessarily romances. So, you know, it's just I'll get into tropes that I don't like later. But yeah, I like complicated family stories, dysfunctional families, but probably my go-to genre is historical fiction, especially World War II historical fiction. So, yeah. Do you ever have Alexa read to you, or do you do audiobook only? I don't have an Alexa, and I don't like robots to read to me if I can help it, but sometimes I use iBooks, the app to buy books on Apple, and if I can't find a book in Braille or audio, I sometimes buy it on iBooks and have to endure VoiceOver, which is the voice on my phone, read the book to me. But that has to be out of desperation. I do not like robots. I prefer audiobook or to read it myself. Although I have heard that they're making more and more audiobooks with synthesized voices, which is horrifying to me. But, yeah, I don't like it. If you could change one thing in publishing, what would it be? I mean, honestly, I don't know what I'd change in publishing. I'd probably just want things to come out at the same time so we don't have to wait for them. And Goodreads isn't always reliable in when things are coming out. Like, it'll just tell you when... I don't even know what date Goodreads tells you things are published. Because sometimes I'll get, like, a British book, and it says it's coming out on a certain day, and it doesn't come out. That's when I figure out that it's not coming out here on that certain day. So, yeah. Maybe make Goodreads just tell us what publication for our country would be nice. I'd also like for licensing to be given to Audible for different books from different countries. I mean, like I said in other videos, I'm still waiting to read The Friend by Dorothy Cumpson, which I know is available on audio, but not here, only in the UK. So, I don't know if that's just a book that's published in the UK or what. You can get it on Amazon here if you want to, but you can't get the audio, which is annoying, because I really want to read it. Although I guess maybe I shouldn't be complaining, because I still have her newest book, Dorothy Cumpson's newest book, Every Smile You Fake, and I've not read it yet. So maybe I should be reading that one before I worry about a book that she wrote like 10 years ago. What 3 characters from books do you relate to or see yourself in? So 3 classic characters, at least my childhood self. I can't really think of any from my adult life. So, yeah. First one is Matilda. I'm a reader. My parents are TV watchers. Like I said, my mom does read. But, yeah. It got to the point where I felt like Matilda because they like to eat and watch TV with the TV trays. Well, I'd rather read a book. And so I have my audiobook in the kitchen. The way Matilda had her book in the book and the movie. So, yeah, I relate to her in that. And I was also almost always best friends with a teacher. Although, I'm not sure I ever wanted any of them to adopt me. The way that Matilda got adopted. Well, I might have at one point if I was mad at my parents and fantasized about it. But, anyway. Second character is Sarah Crew from A Little Princess. I related to her just because I was obsessed with the dolls as a kid. Well, with, like, talking to them and carrying them around, and they would sit at the table, they would sit in the car with the seatbelt, that whole thing. And so I loved Sarah because of her doll, Emily. And lastly, Mary Lennox from A Secret Garden. I relate to her because I was a spoiled brat who didn't know how to dress herself at Mary's age. And I remember reading the book for the first time and feeling a kinship with Mary because there's a scene where she asks Martha, "Aren't you going to dress me?" And Martha is like horrified that she can't dress herself. And that is generally the reaction I get from other people when they would ask me the same thing. I didn't know how to do a lot of things until I was a lot older. Not because I couldn't learn, but more because it was just easier not to show me, and I wasn't interested in learning how to do them. Like feeding myself and dressing myself, it was way easier to let other people do it for me. So, yeah. It wasn't something I necessarily decided. It was just how it was. Because it was comfortable for everyone, I guess. And I went to a blind school. I went to school for the blind from pre-K to like 3rd grade. And then I transferred to a regular public school. And when I transferred there, Miss Schindler wasn't really going to mouth feed me. So, you know. And she didn't really quite have the patience for the spoiled bratness of it all. So I got occupational therapy and learned how to dress myself. But yeah, I remember the surprise from people when they would find out that I couldn't do a basic zipper. So yeah, I remember feeling Mary's outrage when Martha didn't dress her. What are your all-time favorite books? I don't think I have all-time favorites. Like, you know, where if you take me to a desert island, I have to have them. But, you know, I do have, like, old favorites, which kind of goes into the next question. What was your favorite book as a kid? I loved different books as a kid. I loved, Harry Potter. You know, that was for sure a series that everybody loved. Or, you know, most people I knew loved them, and they were, like me, waiting on publication day for the next one to come out. I was with that crowd, so I was obsessed. I was at the bookstore at midnight, just like everybody else. To get the audiobooks. And I loved Judy Blume, the Fudge books, a lot. They were some of my favorites. I bought them this month from the Audible sale, and I read them again as an adult. I'm going to do a full book review with spoilers about my thoughts on the Fudge books now that I'm an adult. But yeah. Beverly Cleary, I loved her. I loved the Ramona books a lot. And I also loved the Ralph S. Mouse series, The Mouse and the Motorcycle. I loved those. Laura Ingalls, you know, the Little House books. I did a whole review of all of the books and my thoughts last year. I'm going to reread them again this year because I just bought the Audible versions before I listened to the Braille Institute versions, but I heard that the narrator for the commercial market is really good, and there's fiddle sounds in the regular recordings, so I'm really excited to re-listen to them, to these versions, or to listen to them for the first time, these versions. And then we have Lemony Snicket. I loved the series of Unfortunate Events. I thought they were, like, terrifying as a kid, but I have to admit, I watched the TV show now. I haven't finished it because I kind of don't want it to end. I don't know why I don't know. But it's weird because now watching them as an adult, I'm wondering if they were actually scary as a kid or if they're just too, or if the portrayal of Count Olaf and all of the characters are just actually funny in the movie. Or in the TV show version, because I find myself laughing when I watch the TV show. And I remember reading the books and being completely terrified of Count Olaf. Basically, they're, the series of Unfortunate Events books. The 3 Baudelaire orphans, everything bad happens to them. Count Olaf is like this evil villain trying to steal their fortune after their parents die and does a lot of crazy things. Murder, they're like sort of the first murder mysteries I read, kind of. Maybe not murder mysteries. I don't know what you call those books. But, yeah. I know that Keisha read them from a book like you and Mitzi from Mitzi Reads and Writes. So, yeah. I'm curious to know what you two would call these books. Anyway, I loved Roald Dahl books. Me and my mom read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory like 3 times as a kid when I was little. And we read Matilda, like I said. You know. Michelle, I remember she read us The Twits. I loved that book. And then we have Little Women. You know, I read that every Christmas for the first time I read it. I love the movies, both versions. The 90s version and then this newest version. Then we have the Anne of Green Gables series. Magic Tree House books. I loved Magic Tree House. My favorite book, the first one I ever read, was Midnight on the Moon, book 8, and that ignited my interest in outer space. So, those are the books that I read as a kid. As an adult, some of my favorite authors are Susan Meisner, Jodi Picoult, Kate Quinn, Kelly Rimmer. I have other ones like that I'm going to talk about later when I talk about authors that are not as well known, but yeah. Okay, next question. What is the worst book you've ever read? Oh, wait, no. I missed a question. Is there a book that just blew your mind? Well, I mean, probably We Were the Lucky Ones by Georgia Hunter. That one really, like, just the way it was told, it was weaved together so well, like, this Georgia Hunter's family history, I think it was her grandfather's history, the way him and his siblings and his parents survived the war. It basically told all of their stories, all the different places around the globe that they went. They all scattered to different parts of the world and survived the war that way, and they came together in the end. And she weaved the story so well that I was interested in all of them and didn't feel disconnected or anything. Like, I really hope the show is as good as the book. I loved that book. The other series is obviously the Timeless series. I mean, you know, every Christian fiction booktuber, it seems, has read these already. Even Krista from Books and Jams is kind of into it. Although I don't think she's quite as into it as the rest of the booktube community. Christian booktube community that's like all into it, including me. I think those have kind of replaced Harry Potter for me. They're like the new books that if I could go to the bookstore at midnight, I would, to get the newest one. Although I guess now I don't have to. Now I just pre-order it and it comes out at midnight and then I read it all night. That's become the new replacement for going out at midnight to get the book. But yeah, like, for sure, those books. What is the worst book you've ever read? I don't think I've ever had like a worst book because, I don't know. I can't think of anything so horrific that it's like the worst book I've ever read. But I will say that the one book that I can remember really feeling bookish rage towards is The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. And Diane Chamberlain is one of my favorite authors. But this, I forgot to mention her on my list. But this is one of those books that I just, no. Like, it's basically it's a time travel book. It's about this woman who's from the 70s. She finds out her daughter has a heart issue and could die. And then it turns out her brother-in-law is from the future. So he's going to help her get to the future so that she can get, like, the surgery for her daughter in utero that wasn't invented in the 70s. So she goes to the future and it's to save her daughter. But then something goes wrong. I cannot say what it is, but it enrages me, and I fling the book. Well, actually, I flung my phone across the room That was when I got my first phone case because I broke it because I was so mad. I don't normally have reactions quite like that to a book, but yeah, I was very mad. Tammy from Believe in Yourself, Laugh It Up. It's one of her favorite books. If you could experience any book for the first time again, which would you choose? Well, Harry Potter, of course. I mean, there's nothing quite like waiting for the next book to come out. It's not as exciting now you know what happens. There's just never been that excitement again after you've read that for the first time. And you're like in the know now. And like the next generation just don't have that excitement because they have all of the books at their fingertips. They can just keep going. But we had to wait and like theorize and hypothesize and write fan fiction and read fan fiction. And like it was a whole thing that this next generation will just never experience or understand. And I want it back. Also, well, like I said, the Timeless series, I'm kind of going through a similar feeling because I cannot wait for the next book to come out. But I kind of want to relive the first book again because that was wild. When the Day Comes by Gabrielle Meyer. Seriously, you need to read it. How has your love of reading evolved over time? Well, when I was a little kid, I liked more fantasy. Now I don't really like fantasy that much. I have a few series that I'll read. Like, I like when we can go into fairy tales. So I loved the Pages & Co. series by Anna James. And then I started reading Amari the Night Brothers. And what was that other one? Nevermore. I read those just because they were popular and I got into them. But generally speaking, fantasy is just not my thing. I'm not interested in Keeper of the Lost Cities or any of those series. Or what's that one by Rebecca Yarros about the dragon? Is it a dragon? I think the second one is Iron Flame, but I already forgot what the first one's called. Anyway, I'm just not really into that. I like more thrillers and murder mysteries than I thought I would, thanks to Meredith from Currently Reading. So there's that. That's changed. My taste in romance hasn't changed much. Or my lack of taste. Sorry, I need water. Are there any authors or books you think deserve more recognition? I have a whole list. Kelly Rimmer. Okay, so before I even get into this, Chloe from Always Booked has read some of these. That's one of the reasons I subscribe to her channel, because she reads all of these authors that I've never heard anyone talk about. So she's read one Kelly Rimmer. I told her she needs to read the backlist. Kate Hewitt. I think she's read one as well. But I've read the majority of her backlist. I just read her newest one. I gave it 5 stars. In the blink of an eye. You know, that's what it's called. But these two authors, they write contemporary and they write historical fiction, World War II specifically. Shalini Boland, I've never heard anyone besides Chloe talk about this author. She writes pretty twisty popcorn thrillers. Some of them are a little too twisty and you have to suspend your disbelief, or you're almost mad that they mess with your head so much. But other ones are really good. Anna Stewart, she is a World War II historical fiction author. I loved The Midwife of Auschwitz by her. It's like a series. The next one is The Midwife of Berlin. And then the third one is, I forget what it's called, but it's nothing to do with midwives. It's just kind of part of that world. Then we have Emma Robinson. I discovered her through a Facebook group. And then Chloe went on to read a book by her, which she wasn't that big a fan of. But I think there are other ones that are more interesting than the ones she read. Such as My Husband's Daughter. And that one is about a couple who didn't want kids. And suddenly the husband's ex shows up with their daughter, and the wife has to decide whether she wants to be a stepmom. It's a whole thing, but it's really good. And then we have Cindy Woodsmall. She is an author who writes Amish fiction. She's the only Amish fiction author that I put on this list, even though I read a lot of Amish fiction. But she's special. She writes Amish fiction, but it's not just Amish characters. She has a lot of, like, your typical English characters. That's what the Amish call themselves. Call, like, outsiders English. But the first one I read was The Hope of Refuge. And it was about Kara and her daughter Lori, and how Kara finds out that she has Amish family when she's trying to escape from a stalker that's, like, trying to kill her and her daughter, essentially. And it's really interesting because she has to adjust to this whole, like, other life that she never knew she had. And, yeah. So, The Hope of Refuge is probably the first one I'd recommend going with. Then we have Kathy Gulk. Also World War II historical fiction. I discovered her through Audible, just at random. My favorite of her books is called The Medallion. Yeah, it's really good. It's going to sound really cheesy when you, like, if you read the description, but I'm trying to find it because it's hard to describe. So it's a World War II historical fiction, and Sophie Kumega, she's a British bride. She works at the library, and her husband Yannick is deployed. So that's one couple. And then we have Rosa and Yitzhak Donovich. They're the Jewish couple, and they have a baby, and they basically give her up so that she doesn't go to the camps when they're in the ghetto. You know, she's, like, taken to a foster family, and she ends up with Sophie, and then, like, it's called The Medallion because Rosa gives the baby half of her medallion, and she keeps the other half so that they can find each other after the war. And, yeah, it sounds really cheesy because of the medallion thing, you know, but it's not. You will cry, and it's sad. Then we have Dorothy Koomson. We're back to the authors. Dorothy Koomson. Already talked kind of about her. Domestic suspense. And then Lizzie Page is an author, another historical fiction author. And then she does World War I and World War II. And then Nicole Trope is another kind of popcorn thriller author from Australia. And then my latest obsession, Alison Ragsdale. She's a Scottish author who does sort of domestic women's fiction that will make you cry. Kind of like Jodi Picoult. But yeah, I've read 2 books this month and I love them. What are your favorite and least favorite tropes? My favorite tropes are found family, probably. I love, like, foster parent stories or just adoption stories or people acquiring kids in weird ways. You know, different kinds of families. But I think I just need a kid in every book I read. I don't need the kid to be the center of the book, necessarily. I don't even necessarily want the kid to be, like, have the perspective be in the kid's perspective. But I feel like having a kid in the story gives it high stakes. So, like, if I'm reading a romance, I want it to work out because of the kids involved in the story. Like, it gives it a complication that it wouldn't have if it was just them dating, I guess. And that kind of just goes for other kinds of books, too. Kids make choices more complicated and compelling. So, I just wouldn't care as much if there wasn't a kid, which sounds really weird, but, you know. And then my least favorite tropes, honestly, you can practically pin them all on romance. My eyes are watering. Ugh. Allergies. Anyway, most of the tropes that I don't like are related to romance. I don't like enemies to lovers because most of the time I'm with whoever doesn't like the other person and I'm not interested in changing my mind on disliking that person. I don't like convenient romance tropes like sharing a bed, being forced into the same car, matchmaking. I don't like manipulation, I guess, is my biggest thing. And I don't like cavemen, like guys who are like order the women around. Like, there is this one Nicole Dees book I read. I wouldn't call him a caveman because he wasn't like terrible, but he made me so mad because he practically like made the girl talk to him because he wanted to straighten something out with her as to why she was mad at him. And he like pinned her or something, like kept her from moving out of his grasp because otherwise she wouldn't talk to him. And like that bugged me, and it's like, ugh, I didn't like him. But yeah, I also don't like cocky guys, like guys who know they're good looking and you like me. I prefer like a romance to be kind of in the background where they kind of get to know each other and it happens and I don't see it coming. That kind of thing. Or I do like some arranged marriage stories. Like I read a Tracy Peterson one where it was about this girl in the 1800s and her father and stepmother died and she had her little sister with her and they were going to take her away unless she was able to like support her, and she couldn't as a woman. There goes a firework. She couldn't support her as a woman, so she had to get married to her best friend and they sort of fell in love, and I love that. So I like that kind of thing. Those kind of arranged marriages. Or The Painter's Daughter. I forgot who the author was. The Painter's Daughter. Klassen? Something Klassen? I can't remember the lady's name. But another arranged marriage story where this woman in Regency era gets pregnant by this jerk guy, and then he leaves her and his brother basically marries her so she doesn't lose her baby. I like those kind. Because they're friends that lead to more, so I like friends to lovers. But yeah, the romance has to be really perfect, I guess, for me to like it. Anyway, do you miss reading paper braille, and would you talk a little bit about what you like about audiobooks versus digital braille? So, do I miss paper braille? Let's start with that. Hi, Ms. Schindler. I know that's your question. I do not miss paper braille. The only thing I miss about paper braille is the element of surprise. I loved, especially the books that you gave us for Christmas. I loved being able to have tangible books and be surprised by people who give me books, which just doesn't happen now with digital braille or audio. Now you can acquire your own books and there's no surprises. I love watching book hauls and hearing about the books that other people give other booktubers. So Mitzi just posted a video where she got book mail, and and there's some people who post birthday hauls. I'll never get a book for my birthday again because it's all digital. So yeah, I miss paper braille for that reason. But do I miss carrying around 10 volumes and having a bookshelf that takes up a wall and a half of wall space? Not really. I love digital braille and being able to just download a digital file and have 1,000 books on a flash drive. As for audiobook versus digital, I like certain audiobooks. Certain books are just better on audio. Outlander, for example. I love those books. I forgot to talk about them. But there's so many Scottish terms, and if I had been just reading them, I wouldn't have been able to pronounce them. But if you listen to them, you can hear the pronunciation. So there are just certain books that work really well on audio and are just not good in Braille. But I also like the hybrid method of reading where I read and listen at the same time. I do that with nonfiction because I can't just listen. I'll fall asleep. So I read with the audio. Or I do the kind of hybrid where I'll be reading and then I have to leave and then I'll listen to the audio where I left off in the book. I always want to have both if I can. I'm sort of unsatisfied when I only have the audio or only have the Braille. So yeah, there's that. Will you review books sent to you by indie authors? This one was asked by the Writing Sisters, and I mean, I'd like to. I don't know how to get involved in that. I know that the Libro FM ALC program requires you to have a social media presence with more subscribers. My presence is too small. I don't know about NetGalley or how to get involved in any of that. I know that NetGalley has audiobooks. I don't know how their digital books work. But if I was able to, I'd love to do that. So if you can let me know, that'd be great. What's a favorite video you've done? So I do different videos. I do bookish videos and I just do blindness related videos. I love the Questions I've Always Wanted to Ask Sighted People series. If you're interested, there's a whole playlist that's just called Blind People Videos. And I think there's like 24 videos in that. You can kind of go through those videos and just see the different questions I have and different topics that I talk about when it comes to blindness. I love those a lot. And as for book videos, I like wrap-ups. I like to talk about the books I've read. And I like to make book reviews, especially the spoilery ones, because I like to really be able to just go in depth into a book without restraints. I'm just not capable of spoiler-free reviews, I don't think, because I have too much to say. Let's see what else. And I just like my book discussion videos where I will think of a bookish topic and talk about it. Those are kind of spontaneous. I have a bookish topic coming up that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to stay tuned and subscribe. What else do I have? Last question. What have you learned since starting a channel? I think I learned that I learned a lot of things. I learned what brings views, honestly. Like, but I also learned to, like, balance what brings views and what I enjoy doing. So, for example, I'm noticing that tags bring me more views because they're a more popular video that other booktubers are doing, so I get noticed. So I do tags more because I love seeing the views climb. But I also know that I'm not going to do certain tags because I'm not interested in certain tags. I only do the ones I'm interested in. So it's like a balance of doing what you love versus doing what brings you views. And I also learned that I can do videos just to do them more for fun rather than trying super hard. It's more fun to just do what I love doing rather than trying to make people like me, I guess, and trying to make money off it. If it happens at some point and I get 1,000 subscribers or more, cool. But if it doesn't, I'll be happy with what I get. You know, I like the people that watch my videos and comment on them, and I get excited when I get comments. And I think if I never get past this small level of subscribership, that's okay. So, yeah, I guess I learned not to, like, expect to climb so quickly. And to sort of be happy with that, because at the end of the day, I like doing it. And I also can't make the videos that other people can make, where I'm, just all I'm doing is talking into a phone. You guys take your videos or your cameras and you film at little free libraries and film your books and stuff. So, it's just different. And that's okay. Anyway, on that note, that is my last question. Please let us hope that this video actually worked. I'll tag the people I mentioned or who asked questions from the book community. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Do all the things. And I'll probably inundate you guys with videos just because it's going to get hot. And I want to get all the videos I had planned done this week before it really heats up. So, yeah. It's nighttime right now, like I said. So, I might do another one after I rest my voice. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Bye.
Stop recording video.